and welcome back to the Glam Docket, where law, politics, and pop culture get a glow up. I'm your host, Neva MUA, your legal bestie with the lip gloss in one hand and the Constitution in the other. Think Elle Woods meets Jasmine Crockett. Now, last week, we were in the courtroom with Glorilla, breaking down her arrest and the justice system's beef with Black women, and why criminal justice reform isn't just trending, it's life or death. But today, guys, we're flying out because America, baby, she's the real villa. And this episode is all about the biggest recoupling of them all, which is voting. So grab your ballots, your setting spray, because some of y'all are about to find out you've been dumped from democracy without even a text. So before we dive in, let's start here. Everybody talks about how young folks don't vote or Black people don't care about politics, but let's be real, this is not just about not caring, it's about access. It's about being tired, fighting a never-ending battle of survival. It is simply about the system being rigged from the start. If you're working 2 jobs and you're just trying to make ends meet in this messy economy, raising babies or even siblings, catching the bus to all the cray across town, or simply just trying to survive life's woes like me, voting isn't some cute little outing, it's a whole mission. And like any messy season of Love Island, the producers, aka the system, have made sure some people don't even get a fair entrance, which means they feel like they are playing a game that was rigged from the start. No polling sites in your neighborhood, no paid time off, long lines, confusing ID laws. It's not giving inclusive villa vibes. It's giving you weren't invited to this party. Of course you're gonna ask, why should I care? Why should I continue to show up? Now, data shows minorities, younger and underserved communities do participate in politics a little bit less, but it's not because they're lazy or disconnected. We have to stop saying that. The civic volunteerism model says it loud and clear. When people don't have resources like time, money, or civic skills, politics start to feel a little bit like a luxury. And let's be real, for low-income communities, especially Black and brown, voting can feel like trying to get ready for a recoupling ceremony and your glam squad never even showed up to get you ready. And then on top of that, you got political cynicism. A lot of young voters, especially those from marginalized groups, have straight up just lost trust in politics and politicians. And honestly, I can't blame them. We are literally trying to convince a generation that has more distractions than any other generation has, access to misinformation. And when it comes to voting, we just can't keep doing the traditional methods like the town halls, the political party clubs. It's low-key giving dead. I'm sorry, Chad. But the digital space, online organizing, TikTok explainers, group chats blowing up, and we've seen this in the last episode when we talked about Glorilla. That's where the new Villa is. That's where Villa America is for this generation. People are showing up. They're just showing up in different ways, in different spaces, and they're using their creativity to get their voice heard. They're reposting these things. They're using Thread. They're using Twitter X, and it's calling out the injustice. They're just remixing it in their own style. And it may not be traditional, but it dang sure is political. And when we want real civic power, we can't just continue to shame folks into voting, shaming people into why they should care. We've got to meet them where they are and show them how the system really works and remind them that, yes, they belong in this villa, aka Villa America. Because once they know the rules, baby, we know how y'all get down. Y'all start flipping the script. Y'all clearly showed that this season of Love Island. But here's the gag, and here's why we are here today. We're constantly trying to beat a system using our power to vote. But the system is always like it's 10 steps ahead of us and it's trying to take that power, our power. Because just when we think we find our true love, our true match, enters the villa, plot twist. Now, recently in Texas, we saw this yesterday on social media. It's been a whole lot of mess and drama on their section of the island. Okay, so picture this, follow me. You found your person, you're loyal, you've made it through Casa Amor, you're ready for finals. And out of nowhere, the producers switch the map, move your rooms, recouple you with someone you've never even met. That's pretty much what gerrymandering is. And that's a strategy they're using nowadays to suppress our vote. Right now in Texas is a mid-season rewriting of its political maps to flip 5 district seats into Republican ones. not based on population, not based on fairness, but based strictly on power. And it's hitting the Black and Latino voters the hardest. This new proposed map would give Republicans 30 of Texas's 38 congressional seats. And when Texas Democrats saw what was happening, they scattered like some roaches running from raid. They didn't just tweet about it, they walked out of the Capitol, shutting down the vote and breaking the quorum. Now, the governors are threatening to fine them or even arrest them. It's just giving messy, it's giving dramatic, it's giving the producers are interfering with the public vote. But that is why something like this is so important. Why we should start tuning into this drama, because when those district lines are drawn to dilute Black and Latino voting power, it is often through gerrymandering. It undermines the ability to elect candidates who they truly think reflect their needs and priorities. And guys, representation equals power. If the proposed Texas map gives these Republicans these 30 out of 38 seats in a state, that's nearly half of the Black and underserved community, and that's not reflective of the population. It's reflective of the political manipulation they're trying to pose. These maps don't just affect one election, it's 10 years. 10 years of being stuck in something like a situationship that doesn't serve you. 10 years of trying to make a change in a system built to ignore you. Imagine that. Can you imagine being stuck with your ex for 10 years? Because clearly that's what America wants to be. Back in the days of segregation, back with their ex. And I don't know about you, but I don't allow nobody to spin the block. So I dang sure ain't about to let my villa, my America do that. So it's time we know our worth and we wake up. Now, while Texas is over there playing Tetris with their maps, Georgia isn't so slick either. They've been pulling some people to the side for a chat. And on the other end, they're plotting to ghost a few people on the island. Let's talk about how Georgia recently began the process of removing nearly 500,000 inactive voters from the polls. And they ain't give nobody no warning, no text, no closure, no heads up, no explanation, just mess. No messy fire pit convo. People just getting dumped. Yeah, Black voters, young voters, low income voters, the same folks who usually have to overcome those same barriers we just talked about earlier just to show up and vote. This isn't just shady, it's systematic. You have to know that. Very much voter suppression. Very much we trying to get rid of your voice before you guys can fix the problems that we're creating. But unfortunately, this is not reality TV. This is our real life. And it may feel like we're in a reality TV show. As we know, it's some drama. But this is our power. This is not nothing new. Georgia's been closing polling places, enforcing strict voter IDs, and targeting communities that historically have shown up and shown out. But it's like every time we get close to recoupling with real power, they move the goalposts. They bring in a bombshell. And sometimes, as we know, it's not disinterest, it's not always disconnection. I know we touched on that earlier, but it's not always that. So y'all know how we get down here on the Glam Docket. We got to pull the receipts. Let's pull the receipts. First, we had Shelby versus Holder in 2013, when the Supreme Court basically told the states, like, Georgia, we trust you now. We trust you. And before Shelby, states with a history of racial discrimination in voting, like Georgia, had to submit any voting changes like redistricting or ID laws to the federal government for review so that they made sure that they weren't discriminatory practices. This process is also called pre-clearance, and it existed for a reason. And basically what it was to check yourself before you wreck democracy type of system. And I agree, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she broke it down really perfectly in her dissent. She said, it's like striking down the Voting Rights Act is like throwing away your umbrella in a rainstorm because you're not getting wet. In other words, it worked, and that's exactly why we still need it. But of course, after Shelby, Georgia was like, say less. Say less. No more pre-clearance, cool. Georgia wasted no time. Polling places started closing, ID laws got stricter, and voting access started shrinking in especially Black communities. Then came another case, Brnovich versus DNC in 2021, and the Supreme Court said, let's just make it harder and fight let's just make it harder for them to fight voter suppression. This case made it way more difficult to prove racial discrimination in voting laws, even when the impact is screaming obvious, it's screaming loud, it's screaming we have our receipts. It basically set a stricter standard for what counts as discrimination, making it harder to challenge or overturn voter suppression in court. And Justice Kagan called it out in her dissent. She said, equal opportunity to vote is not achieved when it's harder for members of the racial group to cast their ballots. Period. Okay? But the majority didn't want to hear that. They said impact doesn't equal intent. And suddenly, even policies that disproportionately hurt Black and brown voters, not enough to count as racial discrimination? Okay. It's like telling Islanders, we didn't mean to dump you because of your race. It just happened that way. Make it make sense. And now here we are. There's a new threat in the chat. In 2023, the 8th Circuit ruled that only the government, not you, not civil rights organizations, can sue under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The case, we have it. NAACP Arkansas versus Arkansas Board of Appointment. The result, if this becomes a national precedent, communities won't be able to challenge racist voter laws at all unless the federal government steps in, and y'all know they slow as hell, excuse my language. They ain't gonna move as fast as the needle needs to move. So again, just when we thought it couldn't get any worse, the producers have now cut the mics and locked us out the villa. But wait, entering the villa this week, guys, entering the villa now is a new bombshell that could change things. Just when it looked like our vote was done for, we have a little bit of hope. I know we've talked about some pretty dramatic things, some cases that's going on, senators and legislators running out of Texas like nobody business, like they got warrants now. We've talked about a lot, but we have a bombshell who has entered the chat. Senator Raphael Warnock said, not on my watch, and he is now reintroducing the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, and this piece of legislation is the glow up that we all need. This bill will ultimately bring back pre-clearance that we talked about earlier, so states with shady history can't make changes without the approval that needs to happen. It blocks shady voter purges, like we talked about, they trying to dump us in Georgia, and it lets you, the people, sue when your voting rights are violated. And it also allows same-day voter registration, because voting shouldn't be harder than getting Beyonce tickets. If you went to Cowboy Carter, this was my first time getting them tickets. So if you get what I'm trying to say. It should not be that hard. This isn't just another policy drop. It's a whole plot twist, because when this passes, because it will, we're going to do what we need to do to make sure this passes. The rules can change back in our favor, and we can start to really do the work we need to do. And then the producers won't be the only ones deciding who gets dumped on this island. But let's be real. We have to keep it real here on the Glam Docket. Passing this bill will not be easy. The Senate we have right now, it's not giving protection. It's not giving very serious. It's not giving they know what they're doing. It's not giving what's going to be trending on their agenda. So what do? We apply pressure. We sign petitions. It's plenty of organizations that has this on their page. We post up and we pull up, okay? Because public pressure, y'all flip Love Island couples. I know, I've seen y'all do it. So y'all can flip the Senate votes too. Y'all can flip the things that are happening in our political climate. And your recoupling speech is now. What you need to be asking your reps, what you need to be asking your local legislators, are you here for democracy or are you just here for vibes? Because here, this Villa America, it belongs to us, and we deserve more than silence. Here's the twist. When the producers, aka these politicians, start rigging the rules, blocking the exits, recoupling out of our power, making us do things that's not in the script, voting becomes more than a civic duty. It becomes an act of resistance. So what do? We register. We make sure we're still registered to vote. I know we move. Some college students, I know you know, your address may change, whatever. Just make sure you have checked your registration. We organize, we educate, we come here to the Glam Docket to stay tuned to what's going on. We post up in the group chat. We reclaim our villa one ballot at a time, because baby, when we all show up, they can't dump us all. I don't know about y'all, they can't dump me. And if you're still wondering whether this system was designed for you, or if it's against us, next week's episode is going to be for you, because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite rappers. If you know me, then you know, a true philanthropist, Nipsey Hussle. Yes, next week we're going to break down how Nipsey Hussle wasn't just a rapper. He laid down blueprints for real ones like you, like me, for real power, for real equity, and for real legacy, because the fight we are talking about now and forever, it is not a race. It's a marathon. So if you guys are ready to reclaim your power, take back your Villa America, I'll see you guys next week as we return to the courtroom Tuesdays at 4:44 p.m. I love you guys and thank you for tuning in. I will see you next week.